Hello, hello, welcome to Mindset to Results. And today our guest is Sharon Rolph. She is behavior scientist. And we thought what would be the great topic? And we will speak today about mental strength and courage that business owners and entrepreneurs really need to have and cultivate in order to achieve their audacious goals, to face challenges, roadblocks that they meet on the way to achieving their goals. Hi, Sharon.
Well, hello, Elena. Good to see you today.
Thank you for being guest in our podcast. I'm also excited about our episode. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up on a farm in eastern Washington, up in Washington State in the United States. And one of the ways I guess I've been a lifelong learner since a very young age because mom would have me drill my brother and sister on flashcards, 3 + 2 = 5 kind of thing. I thought, well, why just sit here paying attention to what they're saying? I could be learning at the same time. And because of that, I got to skip second grade. But I went on to be get a master's degree in behavioral science, and I love bringing out the best in people. We all need to bring out our best, especially in our careers. And but I had actually wanted to be invisible from a very young age. I There was sexual abuse going on in our home, and I says, well, if I just focus, uh, get good grades, don't rock the boat, be obedient, maybe I'd be safe. And I think a lot of people growing up, they go through some not so safe situations. But I was diligent with my career. I figured that they would always move me on, every 2 to 4 years, and I finally realized I needed to take care of my career myself because not everybody's looking out for my career, especially my boss. But I did, I was really responsible, and I worked for IBM and Boeing and GTE, the phone company, and um, let's see, oh, I delivered mail for 3 years. But when my job at GTE transferred me down to Tampa, Florida, I my friends here kind of said, "Well, Sharon, before you get homesick and decide to come back, uh, give yourself 6 months before you make a decision like that." And after 3 months, I thought, "Oh, I've got this. This is going to work out." But by the fourth month, I was hitting the wall, and I was a long ways from Seattle to be moving back home, and
Mm.
I I decided that I needed to do a little research here. I need to learn how to be courageous so far from home, and I found I got out my Bible concordance, and I looked for the words courage. And here in Joshua chapter 1 and 2, there was all kinds of references to do not be afraid, be of good courage, be of great courage, do not be afraid. And I got to the point that I stomped my foot and said, I refuse to live my life based on fear. And ever since then, I have um, shoot, all that worry. There's been so much fear in the news and in life,
Mm.
and you might get COVID, you might get in a hospital and all this. I decide that I am in charge of my health. And once when I was about 22, I was working downtown on second shift at the bank, Pe People's Bank, and the flu was going around. I think it must have been about late September or October, and I started feeling nauseous for about 10 minutes. And then I said, "Phew, go away. Don't bother me. Bother somebody else." And it did. And ever since then, I have been, um, I don't let fear run my life. And that's a pretty significance because that was like 30, 40 years ago. And people always say I look a lot like younger than I am, but I'm 77 and I brag about it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, you really look great. Very good. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing us a little bit about you and your life. So let's speak now about mental strength. Why it is important to cultivate and develop mental strength, especially nowadays when we see so many, as you said, even those days the same, the bad news always. Yeah, so it always wants us to grab our attention for something that is not going to work or something is going to happen. Yes, and there are so many reasons for people to be distracted by all this negative news and situations from their goals. So, how important is to develop that mental strength, and how do you do it? How you help people with this?
Well, in fact, one of the first things, let's see if I can reach my oh no, it's right here. I imagine this. Oh, maybe it's not there. I've got a great big stop sign, and I I decided I'd hold it in front of my face. Um, oh dear, I usually have it handy here. Um, okay, so one of the first things I did to help me um, control my thoughts. In fact, this kind of goes back to shortly after I retired that there was a gentleman hosting a webinar for like 5 days a week, and he was from the UK, and his name was Andy Shaw. And he says, "And you cannot control your life if you can't control your thoughts."
Mm-hmm.
And his program was called How to Have Mental Strength. And I had a conflict with everything every day that he was going to be on, except for the first day. And so the first day he said, he kept making this point of you can't control your life unless you control your thoughts. So he said, what I want you to do is recall to mind a warm memory. A warm memory. He wanted you to get your thoughts channeled on a great experience. He'd always wanted to um, fly an airplane. So his warm memory was giving his son a ride in an airplane he was piloting. And so he showed a picture of his son in the back seat, and he tried to recall, what was the weather like that day, and what were you wearing, and all this kind of thing, as many details as you can. And then he said, okay, so when you're facing a tough meeting or a tough conversation coming up, first recall to mind a warm memory. Hold it for 15 seconds and then go into your meeting, and it'll go much better. So I had recalled a memory from third grade where it was Christmas program, and they'd asked me to be a reader, and there were three of us readers, and I thought, well, how do you be a good reader? Nobody taught me how to be a good reader. So I started paying attention to who are people that are in front of others, and what makes them successful. So I watched the evening news and how were they, what made them come across good, and like, so then I watched the pastor. How does he do his job, in speaking? And let's see, what was another one? Well, anybody in front of others, like teachers. So I decided that they needed to speak up so people could hear them. They needed to speak slow enough so that people could understand them, and they needed to watch their audience once in a while. I
Mm-hmm.
taught myself that. So when it came to being the Reader for the Christmas program, um, I was a second of three. And after the program, I had one or two people come up to me afterwards and said, I was their favorite reader. Oh man, that felt so good. They noticed that I, gotten ready. And so that, so about a week or two later after this mental strength webinar, I thought, why just have one warm memory? Let's see how many I can come up with. And I was shocked. My list of 8 or 10 warm memories, half of them were in front of people. Had I been in the wrong career? I did take a Dale Carnegie course, and I did do Toastmasters. I went to Toastmasters convention. But that was out of my own initiative. I wasn't getting paid to do that. It was something I initiated. So, so I started realizing that maybe I was meant to be in front of people, even after I'd retired. And here's another way to help you control your thoughts. It's just put it, I imagine it 4 inches from my face. Stop
Mhm.
worrying. Okay, and then I make these little art blocks. And this is one of my favorite. Worry is a misuse of imagination. Our imagination is for ingenuity, not for worrying about fear. And I realize there's some um, categories of fear that often are pretty common is fear of death and fear of illness and fear of poverty and fear of criticism. But if I'm controlling my thoughts, then you hush those voices up. You move beyond them. You get beyond it. So um, so yeah, I started imagine. Well, in fact, I had also gotten about the same time I retired a profile. I like profiles to help me understand myself. And
Mhm.
this one, I was sure they'd made a mistake. You got to be crazy. This has got to be wrong. It's called me an influencer. Really? You sent this one to the wrong person. But every now and then I ask myself, um, like, what if it is possible? What if, what are they trying to tell me? And I got a phone call from New York City from some guys that were running podcasts. And they said, we think you might have something to say, something interesting, and we'd like you to come on as our podcast guest. Of course, I had to pay for that to come on, but after my podcast was aired about 4 hours later, chop chop, they were on the phone and saying, "We think you had a lot of energy and was good to listen to, and you could have your own podcast thing." So I started doing, I think about 26 podcasts with them, and um, eventually that was just audio, and it's on Spreaker. I brought in guests to talk about. Uh, Being creative and thinking outside the box, controlling their life. And I went on to then have work with some ladies here locally to do the audio and video, and had a series on transformation talk radio here. So little by little, my courage, I take baby steps. Sometimes people say, well, I don't, I don't know how to be a podcaster, for example. And one of my little art blocks I'm thinking of, you'll know the next step once you take the first step. Um, but yeah, it's not handy here. But here's a great one that I like a lot. Um, is your vocation is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Now, I have to admit, it takes a lot of courage to um, walk out your dream. Your vocation is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. And to bring those together takes a lot of courage. I know I sometimes didn't make the best decisions because I wasn't courageous enough, but I I love helping people know who they are at their best, and that's what I do now in my coaching that I do. And it's when I learned it, it was called my essence statement. It was right the same time I graduated. I mean, retired from work, and they called it essence statement. And mine turned out to be, well, in fact, let me tell you that we were standing in a circle, our classmates, and reading our essence statement to each other. We had worked all weekend on this, and um, as it was coming to be my turn, I was noticing people kind of sniffling a little bit, and I thought, "What's that about?" Well, as it came my turn, I had never been asked to share, to define my soul before. That's what it felt like. And here's what I read. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I am tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires. And when people know who they are on the inside, I can't tell what all of Elena's talents and things she loves to do and what's her values. That's invisible assets. It's inside. And when I live from my what matters to me, my values, every day feels right. And life in the world would be so much better when we are living from our invisible assets. It's such a joy because it feels like it's a suit that's made just right for us. And every day feels fulfilling and satisfying and meaningful.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Yes, I loved it, Sharon, how you shared it. Yes, of course. When people find themselves, discover who they are, this makes their life fulfilled. They can be happy by being themselves. It's just not to pretend that they are like somebody else, or explain why they are not like somebody else. Just when everyone just feels like he is that person who he meant to be, and he knows this value, knows the goals, and does everyday steps to achieve those goals according to his own being, yes, according to his own standards and values and principles. Yes, this makes life really easy when you know who you are. And I recently listened to Neville Goddard, and he said that the biggest tragedy in someone's life is to die and never discover who you truly are.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. This one, I kind of made it, it's a line from The Lion King. Have you forgotten who you are? And I think that was a line being said to Simba, that Simba
Mm,
was supposed to be a leader of the pack. And as we get older, especially, it's like, um, well, when people retire, when people change jobs, even, you have to put on your resume all your strengths. And I enjoyed helping people with their resume because sometimes we're too close to our own skin to be objective enough and not realize that what's a strength for us. We never considered that not everybody can do that, only me. And so helping them remember who they are from an objective standpoint makes their resume look so much better for them. And um, it's just a marvel to see people blossom, as the best self they are could be. And introducing you to the best version of yourself is such a joy to do for people. And it makes life, my company in fact, is called Effortless Vitality. And that kind of describes that intrinsic motivation that it's easy to do. I don't get tired doing it because it comes so naturally. So you've learned something about that yourself, haven't you?
yes, yeah. Yes, it is interesting that people live most of their lives, and most of people are in that path that they think that they are who they were told they are. Yes, and they just believed other people how they were small, and other people put those cliches, I would say, or those programs in their subconscious mind by telling who they are, or telling what they can do, telling that what they cannot do, telling them how they have to do, and all this information which children accumulate in their mind and through repetition, which goes deep into subconscious mind, was said when people children are very small. It starts from being infant, and then at the age 1, 2, 3, 4, like till 5, it is all the programs are already set, and people believe that it is who they are. But just when we think about this, that who put those programs? People who don't even know who you are, people who know so little about you and about your talents and gifts, because this is you who have to discover who you are. And those people who were telling you about yourself, they didn't know that. Yeah, so this is why personal development and growth is so important. When people come to the point that they want to discover, they don't want to live other people's life, like live their life as somebody else standards. Yes, when really they want to find this out, and I liked how you said that you like to do different tests and different profiles to see what fits you. Yeah, because this is important to know what is your genius, what is your strength, what is your weaknesses, so you can focus on your strength and do something that you're really good at and want to be good at, and then you give other things which you are not good at, which are your weaknesses, to be done by other people whose strength is in that. So this is how you feel confident, because you also do what when you do what you love to do, you don't even feel that fight between in yourself that, or I have to do it and I don't want to do it, I have to do it and I don't know how to do, right? So when you just find this way of the like effortless flow, and this is only can happen when you know who you are, what is for you that effortless flow. It is how you can do things according to the laws, yet doing things according to your strength, and have other things done by other people. And this is what will make you successful, because you cannot just do things that you don't like, which even not that you don't like. There are things which we maybe don't like, but we know that we have to do them. But there are
Mhm.
other things which we just do, it is not our job. Yes, it is not things which we are good at, and that is why so many people have the procrastination. Yes, and it is not that procrastination is always bad thing. Procrastination also can be good thing, because it can tell you what is not yours. If you feel like constantly this feeling like you have to do, and you feel like barrier, so maybe it just telling you that this is something to be delegated, to be done by other people, so you can free your mind. You don't need to judge yourself, you need to avoid things which you know have to be done. Just solve it. Yes, just look at this as a sign what your body tells you, because this is again part of knowing ourselves, is to be connected with your body, that we don't fight with ourselves. If we don't want to do something, there should be reason. So see, if it is really something that you only can do, then do it if it is really necessary. But if it is something you know that day after day, some routines that your body doesn't want, your mind doesn't want, it is not yours, it is good. So this is being aligned with yourself, and this is always a process of discovering and feel good in what you do. Love yourself, love what you do, love people for whom you do, and this is how that fulfillment and happiness comes.
Yeah, what you say about others telling us, well, like in school, I remember you had to wear the right jeans or the right haircut, or the right kind of clothes,
Mm-hmm.
or shoes, Nike shoes was big for a while. And that's others telling us how to live our life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to fit it. Yes, in school, we do kind of want to get along with people. We kind of want to not be the nerd or uh, well, I remember one of the first classrooms I sat in, I actually wanted to sit in the corner because I'm not good at small talk. And so everybody else was doing all the small talk, and I wanted to get my job done sitting in the corner. That was a little bit weird. I still don't quite understand that. Um, but when you know what your intrinsic motivation is, I call it, I've started calling it my spark or inner spark, that life being decided, my decisions and actions being from what comes from my heart, my DNA, my GPS, my see, what's another name I call it? Well, just uh, intrinsic motivation. That means I motivate myself. You don't have to motivate me. I motivate myself. It flows from me as something I want to do. And then you're talking about procrastination and delegation. I'm currently working through this book, Powered by Me. I believe it's by her name looks like she's Indian, and her photo does too. She's quite a bioengineer and medical doctor. It's called Powered by Me, and it's about burnout. Now, burnout, especially during the pandemic, was huge with healthcare providers. And what I find interesting that ties to what you were saying is that she says we have mental energy, emotional energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, and physical energy. So she says, as her getting over burnout, she had to be consciously start being aware of what gave her energy, added energy to your life, and what caused her to be drained. Does it fill you up or does it drain you? And I'm now I lead a group loneliness to resilience community on Wednesdays, and so we've been talking about how do we start paying attention to what gives us energy and what depletes us? Because the depletion comes from doing all those things that you procrastinate on and put off. But if you're a people pleaser, hey, it's important to you to say yes to everybody. And she had to take back her power and build some boundaries around her,
Mhm.
what mattered to her. And so I'm anxious to learn from, especially from her emotional energy. I think I could improve in that area, and I'm willing to learn from her. So, and as I learn, I share it with my community on Wednesday mornings.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. Yes, amazing. So, what would be some tips from you how people can come to their best selves? That you said that you help people to become the best version of themselves. So, what are those few tips that you would like to share?
Well, one of the first and easiest things to do, and of course it's kind of fun because it's asking you to make a list of 20 things you love to do.
Mhm.
And in fact, if you include something every day that you love to do in your day, your day is going to go better, you know? So then we look at what's working and what's not working. You know, sometimes our habits trip us up a little bit. So if we've got a habit that's working for us, well, keep doing it. But uh, what's also not working and getting in your way? Then we talk about what's possible. You know, if sometimes paying for our roof over our head and our car and our education, life gets mundane. And we need help kind of thinking about, oh, yeah, what could be possible? Could I use my strengths in teaching to mentor kids maybe in camp or in, uh, well, like if it was with adults, could you mentor people in prison, for example? If you could use your gift of speaking, can you do that uh, in seminars, workshops, kind of thing? Uh, you know, can you have you forgotten who you are? You might have been a dynamite trombone player in high school, and who needs somebody to play a trombone now? You know, groups that travel around your community and enjoy entertaining people. All right, so what's possible helps us to uncover our deep desires and aspirations, like graduating from college, you know, or tapping into your long-held passion. I enjoy sewing. I enjoy color and I enjoy words of wisdom. And I've brought them all together in these little art blocks that I make. So I'm holding up one that says explore the possibilities, which is exactly what we're talking about. Tapping into your passion and zest for life. You know, you don't want somebody make you do something. Oh, okay, I remember crocheting a ripple Afghan way back in my 20s. And, you know, you don't want to sit by the hour crocheting Afghan when uh, you're made to do it. You know, come on, get that Afghan finished, you know? My aunt started it for me, and I was working second shift at the bank. And in fact, one night, it was a Friday night, and this little critical voice comes in your head and says, Sharon, you should be out there socializing, you know, going to the bar, being with your friends. And but wait a minute, I chose to do this. I'm doing what I want to do. And I had figured out that if I go across the blanket, Afghan, and back, it would take me 20 minutes. So when I got home from work late at night, then I would try to put on 2 to 4 rows every night. And inch by inch, anything's a cinch. So I figured out I would get it done eventually if I kept working on it on a regular basis. So, and I'm still using that blanket today because I made it out of wool. I'm so glad I decided on wool because it keeps you warm when the snow is falling. um, but let's see. Okay, so the next step is now we think about what's important. All right, this is where your values come in. And does anybody teach us how to find out what our values are? And there's values lists on Google, and Brene Brown has a nice list, and values is what really matters to us. And we are looking for your 4 core values. So love is a core value of mine. Integrity is a core value. I believe, oh, beauty is a core value of mine. And let's see, and I think another one is creativity, and that comes into play with my little art blocks. So then we wrap all this data that you've been creating about yourself, and we could write a term paper on who you are on the inside. And the beauty of that is we then create a kind of a word picture. Like I kind of think about parables in the Bible are kind of a word picture and or a metaphor, and that's where I picked up my something that moved me deeply when I was in Dallas, Texas, and there was a jewelry geometry teacher turned jeweler who made the most unique jewelry that just, I love uniqueness. And his jewelry was just amazing. And I put his rings on my finger and something moved in my gut. What was that? What's going on? I took them off and put them back on, and it moved again. And I just kind of turned around and wondered what happened. And now I'm using that metaphor of jewelry. I am precious jewel of wisdom, and helps me love myself and recognize that there's something unique and valuable, that I'm not wearing the same jeans everybody else is wearing or the same shoes. That I am a unique Sharon Rolph, and we all need to feel that sense of proud of who we are and why we're here, because it does lead us very easily to why we're here.
Yes, Sharon. So let's speak about your tips, how people can bring their best. Yeah, how they can discover their best self.
Yeah, I enjoy, Elena, helping introduce people to the best version of themselves. And in this day and age when there's so much competition for innovation and productivity and um, getting more things done, it's so important for you to know what you bring to the table. And when you're bringing your best self, it flows easily from you. Your creativity is higher. You're courageous and confident, and man, that sounds like a good job to have, right? But we first need to be aware of, what do I bring to my job? Well, you bring your talent and your values and your aspirations for the future, and hopefully your boss embraces your aspirations for the future. They don't always ask, but let's start with the fact that just list 20 things you love to do. That's kind of easy place to start, right? So if when I was a teenager, I enjoyed baking, so that was on my list. And my art blocks that I make here, I love sewing, I love color, and I love collecting wisdom. And oftentimes when I'm reading a book, I'll be writing down small nuggets that can fit on one of my little art blocks, and that's 3 things I love to do. That was easy. So then we want to think about what's working for us and what's not working for us. Because sometimes we can get into some bad habits that trip us up, right? And in fact, even what's working for like your personality, the qualities about yourself. I like being on time, and I like being responsible, and I like being, let's see, an inspiration, a motivator, help lift people up because everybody else is knocking people down. I want to encourage them on how unique they are. In fact, I love uniqueness. So what's working both in our personality and in our habits? That's our two big things to look at. Then we want to kind of think about what's possible. You know, when you go on vacation and you're sitting watching the campfire burn, and or maybe you're looking out at the water and your mountains, and a still small voice talks to you like you could do something, and you know something comes to mind, and it might even scare you because that's so huge. It scares you, and yet um, one of my little art blocks that I make is you'll know the next step once you take the first step. So even if it scares you, it probably tugs at your heart a little bit too. And you don't have to do it all by the end of the week. You need to trust yourself to know the next step to take. And it will matter to you because it comes from something placed deep inside, probably your soul. Okay, so what's possible? It helps uncover or awaken our deepest desires and aspirations and our zest for life. Okay, and then what's important? What's important? It taps into our values. Our values, who talks about them? Who teaches us about values? I actually wrote a term paper on values one time, and my instructor said, I've been teaching for 30 years and never had anybody talk about values. Well, it is important because when all those people out there, your colleagues and your bosses and your cousins tell you who you are, how much of it actually sticks? How much actually works? No, you need to know who you are. You're controlling your life. You stop living on those fears, and you start being courageous enough to, I wonder what's in my heart. I wonder what's important to me, and those values will help lead you to that. So we take, I've got a list of 50 values with what I work with, but Brene Brown has a list of them online that you can pick up. I think she's got a list of about 30. Well, you take the 30 and narrow them down to maybe your top 10 that feel especially important to you. And then you think about what's your high points in your life. List 3 or 4 peak experiences that you had, and maybe there's some similarity between that peak experience and what it gave you. That's also connected with some of the things you love to do. But on the other side, there's not only the negative, I mean, in the positive peak experiences, but there's negative things that also help flavor what's inside, because you might want to help stop some things from happening. You see things on the news and say, well, somebody needs to cut that out, and yet there's things that somebody needs to start doing. So there's the give and take, the negative and positive. And then we take all these nuggets that we've gotten from what's working, what's possible, what's matters, what's important, and we roll them into a metaphor, kind of like a parable in the Bible, and we create a story that's just fits you to a glove. It's like, yeah, that's me. And what was when your deepest desire meets the world's deep hunger?
Mhm.
um, to feel like you can walk into a job that's like it's written for you. I remember listening to Cicely Tyson talking about a movie that it was I think it was the Road to Bountiful, and yet they rewrote it so she could be the star of the movie, and it felt like it was written just for her. What a feeling to be on stage in a play written especially for you. So
Mhm.
that is, oh, and I have produced some videos on the Great Discovery platform where you can take this course that I've just described, discover your spark, rekindle your joy, and you learn who you are on the inside. The beauty of that is oftentimes our jobs, our roles that we're playing in life don't align with what's inside. And it often creates frustration. I've got a couple nephews that have had problems with anger management, and they're not living in alignment with what matters to them. I haven't had the privilege of introducing them to the best version of themselves yet, and yet I want it for them so bad. So, all right.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know that you wrote the book also. What is
Yes.
it about?
Well, my book is kind of a do-it-yourself for it could be for anybody, but I use the stories from people who are retired, fresh courage in retirement, finding purpose, essence, and fulfillment. And there's that art block that I was just showing, explore the possibilities. There's actually a book called The Art of Possibility that is a marvelous book. But I ask all kinds of questions because often we need some prompting to remember, oh, yeah, maybe there's something significant about that trip I took to Ireland, kind of thing. But I scattered the art blocks throughout my book. That's kind of different to do that, but it helps you think about doing your own research on what could be your purpose. And I kind of make you hungry to know your spark by the end of the book, but I don't teach it in this book.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. We will definitely put links for your course and book in the description so people who listen to us can find it. Thank you so much, Sharon. So, what one thing is that you would like to share before we wrap up this episode?
Well, I like to end my podcast with a statement by Thomas Wolfe. It goes like this: if one has a talent and fails to use it, one has failed. If one has a talent and partially uses it, one has partially failed. If one has a talent and finds somehow to use the whole of it, they have gloriously succeeded and won a satisfaction few people ever know. We want that for you. Have that satisfaction of living why you're here, your destiny, your contentment, your destiny. It's going to feel marvelously like a garment that was made just for you.
Yes, amazing. Be the star of your movie, and your movie is your life. Yeah, so be star in your life, yeah, and decide what you want, what are your values, what is important for you, what are your boundaries, what you want to do, who you see you are, who you want other people to see you as you are, and go for that. There is no limitations at what you can achieve. All limitations are only in our head. Yeah. So remember that you are gifted, you have unique talents and gifts which you can grow and bring to the surface, develop and live the life with fulfillment. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
I often think it feels a lot like heaven on earth.
Yes, when you find who you are and what you love to do, you do what you love. This is how life become really meaningful. And you can say that I'm successful. I live with fulfillment because I am who I am. Yes, I am who I'm meant to be. Thank you so much, Sharon. So I'm sure that we meet again for our episodes to speak about new topics.
Okay, good. It would be a delight. Thank you.